So this weekend, the Oklahoma Sooners have a big game against one of college football's more impressive teams of 2022, the Kansas Jayhawks. And this is a game that's surrounded by intrigue. First and foremost, we need to talk about the quarterback situation for both teams. Secondly, we need to talk about the path to victory each team could take and how they could find success against one another. And finally, we need to talk about why this game is so big for the Oklahoma Sooners, what it means. Before we do, as always though, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe Oklahoma can get the victory this weekend against Kansas? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below as those interactions are massive. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And first and foremost, we need to talk about the quarterback situation for both teams because both quarterbacks sustained injuries against TCU, Dillon Gabriel sustaining a concussion and Jalon Daniels injuring his shoulder. Now, when we look at this, if I'm guessing which quarterbacks are going to be available, I think Dillon Gabriel has a much better chance of playing in this game than does Jalon Daniels. Though I'm not exactly sure of the status of Jalon Daniels, we did see something pop up on social media saying he was out for the year, something he actually retweeted and said that's the first I've heard about it. So where his status is, I'm not 100% certain, but I wouldn't expect Daniels to play in this game. And that is disappointing if you're a Kansas fan or a college football fan, because Jalon Daniels has been one of the more exciting, one of the most impressive players in all of college football, and it just sucks that he sustained an injury that's going to sideline him for some extended period of time. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery so he can get back to showing the nation why there's so much excitement around him. But in the meantime, whenever we look at Kansas, you do have to feel good about your backup situation, because Jason Bean is first and foremost an established quarterback in college football that has experience, and secondly, he actually played Oklahoma last year and played the Sooners very well, going 17 for 23, 246 yards and a touchdown. And then last week against TCU, he had a good game as well, throwing for 4 touchdowns, over 250 yards, and only 1 interception. So Bean is somebody that you can have success with. Now, the one question I have for Kansas, and we're going to talk about this more during the path to success and the path to victory for each team's, how is this going to affect your rushing attack? Something we'll break down a little bit later. But now let's actually talk about the game and where each team could look to have a path to success. And we're going to start with Kansas's offense against Oklahoma's defense, because when we were talking about the quarterbacks, I talked about how the one question I have for Kansas is how is Jalon Daniels' injury going to affect this rushing attack that Kansas has? Because Kansas has a dangerous rushing attack, and it's not just coming from Devin Neal. In fact, Jalon Daniels was a quarterback who was really hurting defenses with not only his arm, but his legs, making defenses account for every possible scenario. Now, whenever we look at this, Kansas has a top 20 rushing attack in the nation. So if you're Oklahoma defensively, you've got to find a way to bottle up Neal. And even if Jalon Daniels isn't there, Bean is a mobile guy. I don't know that Kansas is going to use him in the same fashion they use Jalon Daniels, but point being, he's a guy that has some escapability, that can hurt you with his legs, and we saw him in 2021 go over 400 yards rushing for Kansas. So he certainly has the ability, but you still have to remember, Devin Neal is there, and Devin Neal is averaging over 6.5 yards per carry right now, so you must account for him. And as we sit here, we talk about Kansas having a top 20 rushing offense. The Oklahoma Sooners rush defense comes in at number 115 out of 131 teams, so this is a defense that's allowed chunk plays in the rushing attack. With Jalon Daniels not being there, you'd have to imagine that Kansas is going to feature a heavy dose of the rush because they still have Devin Neal. And Jason Bean is a quarterback that they have to have faith in passing the ball, but they know they are a dangerous rushing attack, and they don't want to get away from what they do well. So if you're Oklahoma, you've got to stop the run first and foremost. Then we can talk about affecting the quarterback. Because the one thing Oklahoma's defense has done well this season is tackles for loss, and that's something you need to translate into quarterback pressures, quarterback hurries, and trying to get some sacks. Get the quarterback off his mark, especially a quarterback coming in relief of one of the most exciting players in all of college football. Though Bean has been here before, though Bean has played Oklahoma and played them very well, you want to try and get him off his spot and make him as uncomfortable as you can so that way Kansas's offense doesn't get in rhythm. Remember, Oklahoma's defense has had a lot of struggles over the past few weeks. One of the reasons is because they can't stop a team from running, which means the defense is much more likely to stay on the field because the offense that they're facing is going to have sustained drives, mixed with Oklahoma's offense not being able to sustain drives. So the offense can't stay on the field and the defense can't get off the field, which is a recipe that Oklahoma has got to try and get away from. But now let's talk about Oklahoma's offense against this Kansas defense. And if you're Oklahoma's offense, you have to hope Dillon Gabriel is back because the offense is able to do so much more when he's there. Dillon Gabriel being in unlocks the passing attack for this offense, and it really unlocks some of the tempo Jeff Lebby wants to try and utilize. But in the event Dillon Gabriel is not there, if you're Jeff Lebby, you have got to have a better game plan than we previously saw against the Texas Longhorns. Whether that's Davis Bevel, whether that's Nick Evers, whether that's General Booty, it really doesn't matter. Things have to come together more succinctly than we previously saw. But for the time being, let's pretend like it's Dillon Gabriel. What's going to be the recipe here? First and foremost, it has got to be sustained drives for the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma, for the first few weeks of the college football season, was an offense that could score as quickly as any offense in the nation, but even in the first few weeks, we weren't seeing them able to sustain drives for 5, 6, 7 minutes on a consistent basis. Now, whenever your defense is having the struggles it's having, your offense has got to help your defense out any way they can. Quick 3 and outs is not helping your defense out, so sustained drives against this Kansas defense, I think, is going to be Oklahoma's recipe for success. Because Kansas's rush defense is decently solid. It comes in as a top 50 rush defense in the nation. Oklahoma has a dangerous rushing attack with Eric Gray, Marcus Major, and all the other capable running backs they have. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. But the one area where I think Dillon Gabriel could unlock a lot of positive momentum for the Oklahoma Sooners is in the passing game. Because Marvin Mims is still there. You still have Farouk. You still have very talented wide receivers, not to even mention your tight end play, that you can utilize to try and extend drives and keep this Kansas defense off balance. Because as solid as Kansas's defense is in the run, they are not as solid against the pass, and I think that's an area where Dillon Gabriel could be huge for the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, the final area I wanted to talk about in this video is why this game is so big for Oklahoma, and the reason is simple. Because right now, Oklahoma has to try and capture any positive momentum they can to build upon it. And if you're able to do that, then this season will be just okay. It may not be the end result you hoped. You may not be in contention for a Big 12 championship, and you may have far more losses than you would have expected coming into the season, but it's about what you're able to build on hereafter. And if you're able to end the season trending in the right direction, that's going to be much more conducive to success during the offseason than if you end the season trending in the wrong direction. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking about this game, and then let me know what you're thinking about Oklahoma's outlook for the rest of the season. That's it. See ya.